All right, let's break this down. So 0.01 Bitcoin, the exchange rate for 0.01 Bitcoin is $620 now. I just made that video a few days ago of how 0.01 Bitcoin is better than $500, right? And now today, 0.01 Bitcoin, the exchange rate into dollars is $620. So classic situation, let's break it down. If you had decided to trade $500 for 0.01 Bitcoin back then you feel good today, right? Like you feel good because you watched your 0.01 Bitcoin go up measured in USD and now it's at 620. So that feels good. If you didn't, now you're looking at, okay, now to acquire 0.01 Bitcoin requires trading $620. So the classic question in your head is, do I do it? Is that a good deal? Or do I wait for it to go down? Classic question. I've seen that in the comments right here. Lots of people ask that. So I first typed in Bitcoin to YouTube 10 years ago. So I've been like watching these videos, like TA videos, just Bitcoin commentary videos, how to use freaking random like wallets and networks and stuff like videos. But straight up on just this question of the so is it a good trade today? Like, is it worth it? Should I buy now or should I buy later? Let's just really get into that. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Anything and everything is good so long as you are making progress with your relationship between Bitcoin units and dollar units. Because let's say the reverse had happened. Let's say it was 0.01 Bitcoin for $500. You pulled the trigger and then now today it's 0.01 Bitcoin for $450. Then you feel bad, right? Then you feel bad. You're like, oh, I made a bad trade. Again, maybe, but that's all because of your relationship between the Bitcoin units and the dollar units. Which one matters to you the most? And both matter. So there's sometimes people go down the route of price doesn't matter. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. I'm not saying that. I do not connect with that at all, okay? I don't connect with that at all. The USD exchange rate of Bitcoin is very, very important. Very, very important. And that as a metric and a thing to talk about is not going away. Completely not going away, okay? So, but what you can do is you can flip which unit matters to you more. Do Bitcoin units themselves matter to you more, or do dollar units matter to yourself more? And that's what then, the reason why, if you ask me, should I wait or should I whatever, the reason why I'm not able to specifically answer that for you is because Bitcoin units matter to me over dollar units. And if that's not true for you, then my answer is not, then we're just talking past each other. So because Bitcoin units are my preferred unit, the way that I think about it being a good deal at 0.01 for 500, a good deal at 0.01 for 450, and a good deal at 0.01 for 620 is the fact that I'm moving over to these units being my main money. And yes, the exchange rate for USD is constantly changing. But here's something to wrap your head around. Even let's take Bitcoin out of it for a second. USD to everything else, if USD is the main units that matter to you, and that's the units you track and do all this stuff in, the fluctuation of what that USD can purchase, the amount of groceries it can bring into your house, the amount of gas it can put into your gas tank, the amount of rent that it affords, that's always changing. Nothing is static. So that's something you also have to wrap your head around, is that nothing is static. So this concept of, oh man, the exchange rate of Bitcoin to dollars is constantly changing. How do I know if I should buy now or buy later? It's always going to be changing. And everything else in your life already is changing. So for that, you can kind of find some comfort that it already is fluctuating all the time, even if USD is your preferred unit. So in that sense, flipping to Bitcoin as your preferred unit actually isn't that big of a change. The biggest change is realizing that now you're also measuring the ability to buy dollars. So if Bitcoin becomes your main money, and then you have to think about the ability to buy groceries, the ability to buy dollars, the ability to buy, like, dollars is just a good, the same way everything else is just a good, because it doesn't work, because it doesn't work anymore. If there's better monetary policy around it, then it would be more static, and the ability to think about the purchasing power of it would be easier. But because it's not, that's the reason why I flipped over to thinking about Bitcoin as my base money. And that's the reason why I think about, like, oh, how many dollars can Bitcoin purchase? Because then a lot of the legacy people, still use dollars as their preferred currency. But that's where the inherent advantage is to, like, you being 6 minutes into a YouTube video about Bitcoin, is that you are pursuing being a pioneer of making that switch, that flip in your head sooner than other people do. Like, the fact that Walmart doesn't take Bitcoin yet, the fact that your mortgage company doesn't take Bitcoin yet, that lies in the opportunity. Like, inherently in that is your opportunity to be like, studying Bitcoin, does it have a shot at continuing to gain adoption as a currency? And am I able to wrap my head around the fluctuation between Bitcoin and the USD exchange rate? Am I able to wrap my head around that and budget financially around that to still be a part of kind of that early adopter crew? Like, have you seen that meme? It's the Matrix meme where he's like, well, what are you trying to tell me? That someday I'll be able to trade my Bitcoin for millions? And he goes, no, what I'm trying to tell you is someday you won't have to. Someday you won't have to. And right now, asking yourself, what's my relationship to the Bitcoin units? What's my relationship to dollar units? Is the precursor to that. Like, it's the precursor to that. Because right now we're like, oh, BTC is just a ticker the same way as any other stock ticker, and it's measured in dollars, the base currency of the world. Yeah, that's one way you could frame it. If that's the framing that you have of it, then sweet. You could choose to level up and flip over to having Bitcoin being your main unit, and then you're tracking constantly how many dollars that Bitcoin can buy, because eventually the dollars in the middle will get stripped out, and it'll just be how much of XYZ can I buy with my Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has replaced dollars.